Skirt, skirt. Swerve, swerve, swerve. Garments. Okay, now I'm done, dude. You can talk. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeet.
Yeah.
Yeet.
Yeah.
Yeet.
Guys, we are here. It's your boys from the 3D Wrestling Podcast. My name is Darren.
My name is Derick.
Bro, we're here to talk about the state of the art being wrestling. And I think there's no better place to start than AEW.
Yeah.
Yeet. But nah, man, where do we start? How would you personally rate the year that AEW has had?
On a scale from 1 to 10?
On a scale of 1 to 10.
I'd have to give it a bit, maybe a 6 or a generous 7.
Okay. Now, this year I feel like we've been to more AEW shows than we have
Most definitely, yes.
WWE shows. Their last pay-per-view of 2022 we were there for.
Yes.
Which kind of in that space, in that mindset, kind of starts off the new year.
Mm-hmm.
So MJF has been our champion at AEW for the entirety of the year.
The entirety of 2023.
Also pulling double duty. Tony Khan acquires ROH. A lot going on there.
I think that might have been prior to this.
Do you think so? No,
Yeah.
no. Oh, you know
maybe
what?
Rebooted it because he acquired it a
He
while
did.
ago during the pandemic, but rebooted it might because I think the first show might have been Final Battle last year. I'm not entirely
That
sure.
is true. That is
yeah.
true. Because at the time CM Punk was talking about, he didn't want WWE to have, more video of him, which now has changed. Let's talk about it. How are you? Are you hot and cold on AEW? I know you said about a 6 or 7.
I think I'd settle at about a 6, which sounds more positive than it really is. Because in previous years, I would give it almost like an 8 or a 9. Used to be very hot on AEW. Now, I think it's cooled off. I'm very cold on it. I think that, what am I trying to say? I think they've lost a lot of focus on what they're trying to do as a company. I think they have their bright points. I think MJF has been having a fantastic years. Unfortunately, his big storyline has been plagued with a lot of outside factors like CM Punk leaving, Adam Cole getting hurt and stuff like that. But I think he's been their MVP.
Okay.
But when it comes to lower in the card, I think there's a lot of mismanagement. The mismanagement of somebody like a Wardlow, somebody like a Keith Lee.
For sure.
Somebody like a Ricky Starks. The list goes on and on and on and on. And I think when it comes down, especially to the mid-card, AEW has definitely lost focus, and they really definitely need to figure out what they're trying to do outside of the main event. Okay.
I definitely agree. I know, at least on my side, I'm rolling with you, right? Mm-hmm. I'm about a 6. There's days where it might drop down to a 4. There's a lot of stuff that happens in AEW that, I just can't roll with.
Yeah.
Mismanagement of superstars, like you said. But obviously there's some bright points. Because at one point, I was very low on Swerve in AEW.
Same. Where
it was like, you have a star here. What are you going to do? Obviously, they got that turned around, so that's cool. But you had a star like Wardlow, who could have been your monster. Can't do it. You got, a talent like Keith Lee, who, once again, somebody who can really hold down and be a cornerstone of your company, and you just fumble it. And to me, this year for AEW was a bunch of fumbles. And unprofessionalism, maybe?
That's been a huge theme of it.
CM Punk leaves. Before he leaves, though, literally before he leaves, he gets into a fight with Jack Perry.
Yeah.
Over glass. He comes back from suspension, and you give him his own show, essentially, with Collision. and all the disgruntled employees now go to that show. You're trying to separate the Bucks and Kenny from CM Punk, which is cool. Totally understand. You want to keep the peace. But then, as soon as, the situation happens with Punk, you have the Bucks going on screen and, taking victory laps around the ring. To me, you can't operate like that. And that kind of leads me to my next point. In your eyes, where did AEW go wrong this year?
This year, where did they go wrong? I'd say with the creation of Collision. I think that already created a huge problem that almost, what's the word that I'm looking for? Perpetuated or supported the unprofessionalism that already existed. Because now, rather than solving the problem, you do have a problem with the Bucks, or you don't like the way you're being booked, or you want to be unprofessional, you can just go to Collision rather than being a professional and talking to your boss, talking to your coworkers, figuring this shit out.
I agree.
And I think they're suffering for it now. You can see that Collision, it's not the worst show on television. I hear the wrestling is actually quite good on the show.
I was about to say, I know you're not watching it, so is it the worst show? It could be.
I don't watch
We don't know.
I don't watch it, but I do hear the wrestling on the show is actually quite good, and they actually do a decent job of making it decent despite losing the reason the show exists.
Right.
CM Punk is now gone, which we could get to later, and where he is now. But I think that really caused the big problem, because I think there's a lot of blame to go around in a lot of different places. I think especially even with the Bucks, you can't be an EVP of a company and not want to talk to your employees.
I agree.
That's something that a talent, an associate, somebody who's working, who's one of the boys would do. If you want to be a boss, you have to make boss moves. You have to be a man. You have to talk to people you don't like. You have to work with people you don't like. That happens in every industry. I don't care if you're a nurse. I don't care if you're a teacher. I don't care what you are. You're going to have to work with people you don't like.
You're not wrong at all. You're not wrong at all. Which now brings me to my point. Do we still consider them EVPs? I mean, you look at what Tony's done in the last few months and, the comments he's made that if anything were to happen to me, hand it over to Bryan Danielson.
Yeah.
Now Bryan Danielson is the man in the locker room who's giving out fines to wrestlers if they go out and complain. But you don't hear anything about the Bucks or Kenny being, these figures, right? Yeah. Essentially, the EVP is just like a nickname. To me at this point.
I have to agree. I think there are EVPs in name only. I don't think they have any real power working behind the scenes anymore. I don't think they do any grand booking as far as the show goes. I think Tony Khan has really, and kudos to him for doing so. I think he's really taken a stronger control in that regard. And I think it would look bad if he took the EVP name away from him. That'd almost be like an admission of some kind of wrongdoing or a mistake. So they can still have their EVP name. They can still talk about all of that. But I do think as far as running the actual show goes, I'd say Tony Khan is really taking control of that. And as far as the talent goes, with the pecking order, like you said, Bryan Danielson is much higher than any of the Bucks, or even Kenny Omega probably are.
Yes. So, I'm going to stay on Kenny real quick because, unfortunately, he has been diagnosed with, now, I'm going to have a hard time saying this already.
Diverticulitis.
There we go.
Yeah.
Same thing Brock had.
Brock Lesnar disease.
Brock Lesnar disease.
It's not funny.
No, it's not. And they caught it at the right time, but he's going to be out for months.
Yeah.
Now, how is that going to play out in AEW? Is it going to hurt them? Do you think they have the ability to kind of pick somebody up and make that star? Like, in my mind, Kenny's away. MJF's in the air, apparently. I'm turning Jay White. Or I'm trying hard to make sure that WWE does not sign Okada. What's up? Like, what do you do? Because Kenny Omega 100% is a wrestling figure, period. And one way or another, however you're going to cut it, he is going to put people in the seats.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think? Like, with his absence, what should AEW do?
I hadn't given it much thought. I really like your idea of using this as an opportunity to showcase Jay White. Because he is a tremendous talent. Everybody knows. Everybody knows who Jay White is. And I think this could be a moment for them to really prop him up as the star he really is and deserves to be shown as. Because at this point, I don't know what they're going to do now with the whole Golden Jets, I think they're called. Him and Chris Jericho. I don't know if that tag team opportunity just goes back to the Bucks.
But they're on hiatus or whatever they're doing.
God, yeah. So I don't know. This is like this is above anybody's control. This is kind of out of their control. This is nothing that anybody really could have prevented. But now, who knows what happens? Because who are the champions? Big Bill and Ricky Starks.
Yeah. Do you call on Kota Ibushi? You can still do Golden Jets. However, he has some commitments in Japan that might.
I do know he is back working in Japan, and I don't know if that will serve as a scheduling conflict with any of this happening. I will say I was never really a fan of any of this whole Golden Jets things.
Fair.
So, personally speaking, I would use it as an opportunity to start fresh and start to focus on another tag team. No, not FTR. Somebody very...
I got a tag team in mind. We think
the same thing. We are thinking the same thing.
I got a tag team in mind, and all they need is one song. Tony, cut the check. Cut the check. CTC. Cut the check.
I'm going to edit in their entrance here right now.
Please. Presentation is everything.
Yeah. They won me over immediately that one night with that one entrance.
Presentation is everything. And obviously, perfect, fit to be Bullet Club, and you guys are the Guns. Like, just makes too much sense. Perfect. But let me ask you, right? Mm-hmm. Because we've seen a decline in AEW, and they've seen in ticket sales and viewership. For me, right, I have an idea of where this started, but I want to ask you, where do you think the decline of AEW started, or where does this stem from?
I think we'd both be in agreement on where it started and where it stems from. I would say it would be Cody Rhodes leaving. I think he was the first domino piece to fall that started, how do I even put this, just like a ripple effect for all of the current troubles they're seeing. I think without Cody Rhodes leaving, we don't see Jade Cargill leave. And you could maybe see this as a much smaller loss, but we don't see the likes of Arn Anderson, Brock Anderson, QT Marshall leave. If you ask me, I think Ricky Starks has one foot out the door. I think when his contract runs out, whenever that is, I don't know the specifics of his deal. I think he is gone and heading to the WWE. I think, although I do think MJF is going to stay in 2024, I do think the following deal, whenever that expires, he's out the door as well. I think Cody Rhodes leaving really caused a huge loss in AEW's identity.
I agree.
In AEW's leadership. And I feel like they've been flying blind ever since. They've been trying to recapture a lot of what they lost after he left. There was a lot that Cody contributed, for better or for worse, that really made AEW what it was. And ever since he left, it's been this weird hodgepodge, amalgamation of Ring of Honor, New Japan, ECW, just random stuff happening without a clear vision.
Now, I don't really know what led to Cody leaving. And nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
And that's one thing about AEW is that if they're going to keep something in-house, they're going to keep it in-house.
I think Cody's respectful enough to them, despite whatever disagreement they may have, that he's never really going to
he's not
air out that dirty laundry.
But 100% in agreement. Cody was that first domino. This year, they lose, and it's small, but you lose Brian Pillman, which people are going to say, that's not a big loss. To me, he if you give him the right opportunities, I think he has a pedigree that definitely could have been showcased.
I think he has a lot of charisma. We're seeing that right now with Lexus King.
I like the character.
I like the character a lot.
I like his presentation, but that's a WWE topic. That's a WWE
I
topic.
have a comment that I do want to make, but and you know what? I will, because I think it does pertain more to AEW than it does WWE, but there is examples and context within WWE that I'm going to draw from. And it's comments that Triple H made, I believe, at the last press conference following the last WWE pay-per-view, when he was talking about Jade Cargill. And he was talking about how WWE didn't anticipate her to be as inexperienced as she is when they signed her. And I think that's more of an indication of AEW's lack of a developmental system.
Okay.
And I think that's what also works with the whole Brian Pillman, Lexus King situation. I feel like if you're not already at the level of Kenny Omega, or even like someone like a Ricky Starks, if you're not already prepared to be on the big time, AEW has nothing to offer to help you get there.
I agree.
You'll just flounder. You'll just end up another, no offense to them, Action Andretti or Griff Garrison, and just...
Fuck Griff Garrison!
But you'll just end up another guy on the roster.
Right.
They're not going to help build you. And I feel like that's something they need to work on. I don't know if that looks like turning Ring of Honor into developmental camp for them.
Okay.
Or partnering with somewhere like a OVW or whatever else. But they need to figure out how they're going to build more stars, because...
Essentially a farming system.
Yes, because they can clearly sign young people. They have all these young stars that they can sign. They had Jade Cargill first, but I'm sure she even she saw, if she really wants to grow, get better, be a star...
You gotta leave.
She got to leave. And that's what she did. They said it wasn't a money issue.
Jericho made those comments. Everybody should go work under Vince for about 6 months. You'll understand what it is to be a professional in wrestling.
And that's the AEW guy.
That's the banner guy.
That's your quote-unquote locker room leader saying that.
That's crazy to me.
That's crazy.
That's crazy to me. But, I mean, so AEW has had their bumps this year. Looking forward, 2024, and I just want to, before I get there, I hate that AEW's worst year so far has come under MJF being champion. Because now you think it reflects on him, when in actual reality, I mean, your competition is the hottest it's been in 20 years.
Yeah.
And
we can get to that when we talk about WWE.
Right.
This has been one of their best years.
It's
Unfortunately for AEW.
For AEW. What does AEW have to do to get back to that 2019, 2021 feeling? Because, like we said, he was kind of the heart and soul, and he carried this banner of what AEW is, right? And we talked about it off mic, but I said that AEW is built off of one promo in particular, and that CM Punk's promo with the pipe bomb back in WWE.
Yeah.
Cody then took that promo, left WWE, really built, a name for himself in ROH, on Impact, in New Japan. Then turned to WWE and said, I'm about to build my own company. And then, essentially, what it looks like on the outside, he was kind of outed from his own place.
Yeah.
And when he left and showed them on that WrestleMania stage, the spirit of AEW, or what it was, kind of died. Now, I think they restored the feeling a little a couple years ago when they hired CM Punk. But you see how that turned out.
Yeah.
He's no longer there. What does AEW have to do to kind of restore that feeling now? 2024, is this going to be a bounce back? Or, I mean, I guess it all depends in January if MJF resigns, which we both think he already has or he is.
Yeah, I know he's been making his rounds lately saying that he hasn't re-signed. I think if that even is true, it's like a technicality thing. I think he fully has the intent to re-sign. I think he's locked in for 2024 with AEW. But to get to your question on how AEW can bounce back or recover from a pretty hard year for them, I think it's a bigger focus on their mid-card.
Okay.
And on top of their mid-card, their women's division. I mean everything outside of the whole MJF storyline. I'm talking tag team division, trios division, women's division, mid-card division. They need to have a firm focus on what they're doing, who they're trying to build, and why they're doing the things they do. Because I think the biggest issue with AEW has always been inconsistency. Start and stop pushes for everybody. The greatest example I could probably say is somebody like Will Hobbs, who has been in every single faction AEW can think of.
Yeah.
In a perfect world, I think AEW is also spread a little bit thin, and I think maybe having a bigger focus on putting their best work on one single show could really help, but they're not going to get rid of a Collision or a Rampage.
You think they're spread thin?
I think they're spread very thin, especially for a show that not a show, but a company that I still think is in its infancy. What are they? 4 years in, 3 shows. That's a lot.
That is a lot, but I also feel like they have a big enough roster that supports these shows, right? Rampage is only an hour, right? Mm-hmm. That can be the best of Collision and Dynamite, but I think you have enough people to separate those rosters, but Collision also doesn't have anything anybody's fighting for in a sense. To your other point, I don't know what the I don't know.
If you can hear dogs in the background, we apologize.
Listen, I don't know. I genuinely do not know what Ron Breaker must be here. But I genuinely don't know. What are we doing with the trios titles? The Acclaim still have them?
Yes, the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn are still the trios champions.
The tag titles are up in the air, but that had stupid booking going into it. The ROH tag titles are still vacant.
They're vacant?
I thought they were. After the Briscoes.
What's called MJF and
Oh God, you're right.
Yeah, MJF and Uncle hold them.
That's how much I care about that.
Yeah. They might as well be up in the air though. Both of your tag team champions in Ring of Honor are injured.
Right.
One is gone with a fucked up ankle, and one is I don't even remember.
I called that, by the way.
Yeah, he did catch that. As soon as it happened, he called it immediately.
Said that ankle was shattered.
And other injuries. I don't remember exactly what MGF is dealing with, but I know he's dealing with some injuries as well.
Back injury?
Yeah.
Shoulder injury? Shoulder injury for sure. I don't know. It's just...
They've been plagued with a lot of bad luck as well. There's a lot that's been outside of Tony Khan and anybody in AEW's hands that has just really been like fucking with them this past year. And it's unfortunate because that, across the entire wrestling landscape, I will say the whole Better Than You, Baby storyline has been one of the best things happening in wrestling.
All right, so before we leave AEW, couple more things. Hot or cold, yeah or yeet? How do you feel about where this Devil storyline is headed? Are you still on it? Are you still Are you still on it? Or are you falling off? Because me, it's getting cold.
I'm gonna have to say
it's getting
I'm cooling off on it.
I'm not feeling
as
it anymore.
Interested as I was. I still have a vague sense of curiosity as to who it is. We still will keep an eye out, and we still plan to watch at World's End and see what happens.
Hopefully in person.
We hope to be there and see what happens, and hopefully that's when we see some kind of major development in this story. Hopefully, just revealing who it is. But right now, I'm nowhere near as interested in it as I previously was. No.
They cannot go into 2024 without revealing who the Devil is. For sure.
They have to. This has been going on for way too long. I think the fans are losing interest. It's repetitive. It's the same thing. The devil doesn't even do anything. He just stands there, which leads me to believe that there's still a small chance that it can be Adam Cole. We haven't seen the devil walk. We haven't seen him come out in front of the stage. Who knows? He could have a boot on his leg. We don't know. All we know is that, as far as I could tell, standing next to his henchman and someone like Jay White getting beat up, he is short. So it's not a big dude who's going to be the devil.
This is true.
Hate to say it. Adam Cole's pretty short.
Adam Cole is short. And, I mean, last week when the devil popped up, people pointed out that that's actually the original mask. And that was MJF under that one. So, now people are thinking we're getting the double, there's two devils type thing working together. Which, I did mention before, I think it's MJF.
I hate that. It would make sense if it's MJF. He's not a good guy. He's a scumbag. He's like a bad guy. It wouldn't be illogical if it was MJF, but it would be so disappointing if it was. Like, that would be that would take, like, that would ruin this entire storyline. I would feel like a complete waste of time if it was MJF. I really don't want it to be him.
I agree. Well, man, AEW has a lot of work to do to get back. I think they should run, smaller venues possibly.
Really? That's how you think they... Because I guess same question to you as you asked me. How do you think they bounce back?
They have to put people in seats. As of right now, there's not enough for people to grab on and latch to. That's going to keep me interested week to week. Mm-hmm. That's going to keep me wanting to go to live shows. It's just one of those things, man. Like, you guys are responsible for, I would say, the wrestling boom. In the industry overall.
Yeah.
But you guys are falling behind. It's time to focus on some different talent, like you said. Mm-hmm. And you made a point that the mid card needs like some refreshing. Mm-hmm. I think this year they did a good job towards the end of the year with Christian being that main mid card guy, like a main event mid card guy.
Oh, most definitely. I think he's in like almost like a weird new prime of his career.
100%. I think he's been a bright spot.
He's been a bright spot of AEW.
Maybe 6 months.
And this man is what, 50, if not pushing 50, and
very close to it. Got to be close.
Got to be at least close. And he's one of the most bright spots of this alternative, what that's supposed to be, or a challenger brand, as Tony Khan likes to call it. And your bright spot is Christian Cage from 99 or 2006 or whenever he was hot.
And Jeff Jarrett.
Oh, Jeff Jarrett. He's
Double
the bright
J.
spot of any company. He's
Double J.
Best wrestler in the world.
Mr. Go get that check.
All Mr. Right? Always got a job.
Always got a job. And does a damn good job at it. Yeah, man. Listen.
Draws a dime, though.
AEW has a lot of work. If they just want to compete with WWE, I don't know, man. There's a lot of stuff that they're going to have to do just to be able to compete with them, which at this point, and Triple H taking over, I don't think they're ready for that.
They're not. I think I might have said this to you off camera or at like another time, but I think one of the worst things to happen to AEW is WWE took their identity. What made AEW the new hot girl in the wrestling world was that they were a national wrestling brand, not ran by Vince McMahon.
Right.
And now that's what WWE is. Vince McMahon is still in the picture. He still is like on the board, but creative is not ran by Vince McMahon. And now WWE has a bigger platform. They have bigger television deals. They have bigger stars in a lot of the cases. And now they don't have Vince McMahon weighing them down.
Another big thing. How can I forget? AEW currently has not signed a new TV deal yet.
Damn, that's a whole topic we could dive into because we've been seeing a lot of reports.
Man, I don't know. Because if the reports are correct,
they're in danger.
They're in danger.
They're in danger.
But we will get back to that. You guys have tuned into the state of the art for AEW.
Yes.
We're going to be back talking about WWE, though.
Yeah.
Where we are. Why are they the hottest company right now? Deuces. All right.